my God, Dante and Cassidy really belong together because they have the survival instinct of a gnat. King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby is a crime thriller following Roman Carruthers, an ATL-based high-rolling CEO of his own wealth management firm who gets called home to Jefferson Run, Virginia, after he receives word that his father is in a coma after being in a terrible car accident. What he finds when he returns home sets him up to participate in some illicit activities, all to save his family. I went to the Bronx Book Festival 2 weeks ago, and I saw S.A. Cosby in conversation with Kennedy Ryan. It was phenomenal. I'd already read Razorblade Tears, All the Sinners Bleed, and Blacktop Wasteland. I bought King of Ashes earlier this year, but kept pushing it down my TBR because I primarily read romance. But listening to him speak at the Bronx Book Festival bumped this book up to the top of my list, and it did not disappoint. I don't read thrillers regularly, so the pacing automatically feels slow to me. But I must say, S.A. Cosby grabbed me quicker than normal with some of these scenes, had me clutching my pearls, child. We weren't even 60 pages into the book. I was not expecting things to get active so quick, but they did. The Carruthers family have a very interesting family dynamic. The patriarch, Keith, is an elusive father and owner of Carruthers Crematory, a business he built from the ground up. His relationship with his 3 children, Roman, Nevaeh, and Dante, is distant at best, especially after the mysterious disappearance of his wife and their mother, Bonita. There's a lot of trauma attached to this disappearance that has affected each of the siblings in a different way. Roman went away for college and never came back, landing in Atlanta and starting his own wealth management firm. He's big money, but he is extremely protective and defensive of his family and will do anything to keep them safe. Nevaeh stayed home to assist her dad at the crematory, despite carrying resentment towards him for what she knows to be the truth, that he killed and cremated their mother for her infidelity. Dante, the baby, lost his innocence as a result of this disappearance and turned to drugs and alcohol. Which brings us to the main conflict of this story. While the Carruthers family may be the focus of this book, the side characters are everything but. All of them definitely give main character energy. Like Khalil, Roman's ride or die / hitman / informant who conspires with Roman in all of his schemes to bring the BBB down. I loved him. He was absolutely about that life. Speaking of BBB, I can't not mention Torrent and Tranquil, the leaders of Jefferson Run's notorious drug conglomerate. They are evil. The devil himself is scared of them. But as a reader, I respected their game because they always stood on business. No one was exempt from feeling their wrath. That said, I think my favorite character in this book is Jealousy, aka Jay, Torrent and Tranquil's half-sister, who becomes Roman's love interest. She told Roman not to lie to her when they first started dating. And when her messy of a brother Tranquil revealed some truths about Roman to her, she immediately broke things off, even though she found herself falling for him. That took a lot of strength, and it showed her character, and I loved it. I loved it. The most frustrating character is, yep, you guessed it, Dante. You know what? It's a tie between Dante and Cassidy, his ditzy marbles for brains girlfriend. Dante got himself in a situation where he owes Torrent and Tranquil a lot of money after agreeing to sell their drugs and subsequently losing all the product. First of all, you ain't never sold drugs a day in your life. Why would you, with all confidence, accept that much product? Then you got most of your product stolen. The rest you used up like your name is Rue and you're in Euphoria season 2. So when Torrent and Tranquil deliver consequences with an iron fist, namely by putting your dad in a coma, Roman comes to your rescue and creates a plan to infiltrate the BBB and destroy Torrent and Tranquil from the inside out. But you couldn't even make that easy for him. Roman was supposed to kill your boneheaded girlfriend after he killed your sidekick / her other boyfriend, I guess, Getty. But he let her go. Told her to skip town, never to return. When she couldn't follow instructions and started inching her way back to Jefferson Run because she missed her mommy so bad, you, Dante, were unable to talk some sense into her to get her to leave. Because guess what? If she comes back and gets caught, she won't be the only one dead. No, you be dead, me too, idiot. My God, Dante and Cassidy really belong together because they have the survival instinct of a gnat. The violence in this book was extremely jarring and shocking. Remember when I said S.A. Cosby gagged me less than 60 pages into the book? That's because by page 54, Roman got his teeth knocked out and Dante got his pinky finger cut off. And to make matters worse, Torrance stomped on the finger so it couldn't be reattached. It was one of those moments where I had to take a deep breath because I was starting to get a little lightheaded reading that. But lucky me, that was only the tip of the iceberg. I don't want to tell it all because I don't want you to read the book. But just an FYI, if you have a queasy stomach but you enjoy a little gore, a little violence in your books, you might want to take your time with this one because S.A. Cosby does not shy away from the violence. The plot twist at the end, where it was revealed what happened to Bonita, had me stuck for 10 minutes. I literally closed the book and stared into the abyss like I was New York on Flavor of Love. Literal chills! But what made it brilliant is that it was right there in our face the entire time. S.A. Cosby left breadcrumbs all throughout the book that pointed towards what happened. It was literally hiding in plain sight. So while I may have been gagged, it 100% made sense and I was very satisfied. The themes that this book explores, like family loyalty, power, revenge, moral ambiguity, are all funneled through Roman's experience. We see loyalty to family and his us over them mentality in his decision to aggressively attack Dante's problem. It only took one time for him to get hurt and to simultaneously witness his brother be mutilated for him to know that if he had to choose between someone else and his family, it's always gonna be family. This unfortunately was a hard concept for Dante to grasp, especially when it started hitting close to home for him in the form of Cassidy. But Roman deeply cared about the ones that he loves. Money talks. Money is power. And no matter how big or bad somebody thinks they are, they can always be taken down by the power of the dollar. Roman knows this. He's a connoisseur in the field. So he uses it to his advantage to take down and get revenge on his family's enemies. This involves questionable behaviors and decisions, like burning somebody alive. But it's all for the greater good, right? I really sympathize with Roman's plight because I understand loving your family that deeply, you do anything to see them unharmed. I love the thrills in King of Ashes. They were frequent enough to keep me engaged, but not too much where it felt gimmicky. I felt the story moved along nicely. We never stayed in a particular moment for too long. And I loved how all the characters had distinct points of view that had me feeling very strongly about each of them. There wasn't a single character in this book that felt like a throwaway. All of them were intentional and clear. I also loved reading about and seeing references towards characters from his previous works, like Bud from Blacktop Wasteland and Ike from Razorblade Tears. They were really nice Easter eggs for me to find. The very, very end left me wanting more, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I had more questions, like, is Jay pregnant? She seems like she's putting together the pieces of her brother's disappearance. Will she ever find out the truth? And if she does or did, Where would that leave her relationship with Roman? Especially if she's pregnant. All that and more on next week's episode of Dragon Ball Z. The King of Ashes is the King of Ashes in every sense of the phrase. And it's a 5-star read. If you're late to the party like I was, don't delay any further. Bump this book up to the top of your TBR. It really is a roller coaster of a ride. Let's discuss in the comments. For those of you who read the book, how did you feel about it? What did you think about the big reveal? Where does King of Ashes rank for you amongst S.A. Cosby's books? Let me know. I want to talk about it. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you, all my viewers. I love you. As always, stay booked.